Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 198 of the Debt Free Dad podcast. Today, I have some amazing guests joining us, Danny and Lori Elwell. Now, Danny and Lori started listening to the podcast in January of 2022, and soon after, they decided to join Roots. And today, they are here to celebrate a pretty amazing milestone, which they have had us on the edge of our seats now for months in Roots. And we are looking forward to hearing what they've got to share. And I got to tell you guys, if you're looking for some inspiration and some motivation, and if you're wondering if the stuff on this podcast that we talk about really works for normal everyday people, you got to stick around and listen to this interview. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast with Brad Nelson. Brad and his co-hosts experience the anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck before learning the fundamentals of financial security. They are now on a mission to empower regular people to pay off their debt for good and enjoy happier, less stressful lives. Keep listening for inspirational interviews, tips, tricks, and practical advice to gain financial freedom.
Hey, how is everyone doing today? You can find us on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search Brad Nelson or Debt Free Dad. And as always, welcome to today's show. Remember to get all the resources, show notes, and links for today's show. You can head over to thedebtfreedadpodcast.com and check out episode number 198. And you can also find all of our other episodes at that website. Again, thedebtfreedadpodcast.com. And you guys, you listeners out there, man, I am really excited about this conversation today and having Lori and Danny on. Lori and Danny met in September of 1997 in downtown Greenville, North Carolina. Now, Daniel was a struggling salesman working in computer sales, and Lori was a military police officer in the Air Force. And they married in 1999, and they have been married now for 24 years, and they also have a son, Cameron, who is now in his early 20s. Daniel is now a project manager for a security home automation company. Lori followed her passion for serving and is a medical assistant for ECU Healthcare. Now, Daniel and Lori have a two-pack of furry kids at home, a pit bull mix named Patty Lou and an English bulldog named Cash. They say, we as a family love to help and serve others. We love spending time with our family and our friends. We love taking adventures together as a family. We love traveling, camping, theme parks, and also some live concerts. Lori and Danny, welcome back to the Debt Free Dad podcast. So glad you guys are here with us.
Yeah, we're happy to be back.
Yeah. So for those of you who may be new to the Debt Free Dad podcast, or maybe it's been some time and, you've been skipping around to some episodes now, Daniel and Lori went on our podcast probably about, it was summer of 2022. And yes. You guys, I think, came on in like June or July. So that was episode number 130. So if you want to kind of go back to where they started, I think you would definitely get some value, because you would see kind of where they were, 14, 15 months or so ago, and now where they are today. But you guys, we're just going to let the cat out of the bag. And there was no way that I was going to steal this exciting news for you guys. But why the heck are you on our show today?
1, 2, 3, we're
officially debt free.
Yeah, that is awesome, you guys. So exciting. And as I mentioned in the intro, you guys have had us on the edge of our seats here in Roots. And I knew just from chatting with Danny over these last, ever since you guys have joined, we've had some pretty good communication. And I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming down the pipeline. But, you guys kind of let us in August, and here we are in November. I was like, what's going to happen, right? But, yeah.
The job changed.
Yeah, right. You had a job change. Yeah, had a job change. Which can throw a little wrench in the plan. But I'm just so excited to hear. So let's talk about this. You guys obviously started listening to the podcast back in December, January 2021, 2022. Take us back there. Like, what were some things that you guys were struggling with? We're going to talk about your numbers here in just a little while, because you guys got to stick around and listen to what they've been able to do in the last 19 months or so too. But before that, though, like what were some of the things that were just not going well when it came to your finances and how that was affecting your life?
It was just consolidation after consolidation after consolidation. I've labeled myself as the consolidation dad, where you were the debt-free dad. I was consolidation dad. So ultimately it was, we pay off something or what you think is paying off, but it was really just consolidating debt. And then something would come up, and then all of a sudden we use the card again, and then we consolidate again. And then we never understood the fact that how important an emergency fund was. How strategic it is to have and to continue to build, no matter how much it. At first, the $1,500, $3,000 is a good starting point, but ultimately, you got to learn how to resave to be successful in debt freedom.
Yeah. So, was there any talk about the feelings around your finances at that time? Stress, anxious.
Just exhausted with being $100 to death. You got $100 going to Capital One, $100 going to City, Chase, to the hospital, it just, and trying to keep up with all that. It is a stress. It's like, did I pay this? Did I do that? Tracking. Another thing that your program offers is staying in touch with that. This week we had fraudulent activity on our account.
Yeah.
Went right in there, do my daily 15, and boom, I saw it, called the bank, shut everything down, saved myself probably 4 or 5, 6 different charges, and that I can dispute now and get that money back, rather than being in terrible shape, wondering if other things are going to bounce, or what other fees I might have to incur because somebody did something to us, and just by making a purchase online somehow.
Yeah. Now, how did you come across? If I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong. And I think Danny, you found the podcast, right? I think it was like a sales trip you were on or something.
I was on my way up to Ohio. I had about a 10-hour drive from North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I was looking for something to keep me awake, and I came across. I was like, what? Let me look for some. Because, I have, in past, me and Lori have, done well at really trying to drive down debt, but we've never been successful with staying out of debt. So the thing is, we always had the 0 interest credit cards and things like that. So it was
transferring balances. It was like a revolving door. I mean, we just transfer from a credit card that, is now accruing interest to a 0.
Yeah.
And then it would give us a breather, so to speak, in between, because it's out of sight, out of mind. It's not accruing interest. But again, just like he said, we never got rid of it. We just moved it around out of our way.
And we would pay it down, but then to get to the point where, like I said, you're $100 to death, and you're exhausted with it, and you get to a point where then you consolidate, but that just frees up more money to spend again.
Yeah, right.
And or it's $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in debt, or more even. So in this case, we turned around and I was on that trip, and I found you and I listened to you for 10 hours straight. So I got a good induction of what Debt Free Dad was all about right out the gate. So.
It's crazy to me that you say that, though, that you listen to the podcast to stay awake.
He did. He'd been looking for a way to do some financial, just to gain more experience and to gain more knowledge on true debt relief, that didn't incur more money in the process. Because a lot of those places, we'll get you out of debt, but it's going to cost you this much for us to do it. And we negotiate with your credit cards. And, it's a scam for one, more than likely. And it's just putting you even more indebted into these places and these people. So he really was looking for something that was bona fide, that was true, tried and true, and that other people had commented on and gotten really good success with.
Yeah. So obviously you binged the podcast for quite some time. You come home. So tell me about that conversation with Lori. Like, hey, I found this strange dude on a podcast.
No, I'm gonna let her tell this story. I'm not even going to be in it. So go on, tell her how I had treated you whenever I came home.
Oh my gosh, he was like, woman. He was like, starting tomorrow. He's like, we're gonna work on debt freedom. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I found this guy Brad. And I was like, oh. And I really was like, okay. He's like, and he said that we got to do this. No more credit cards. No more eating out. And I was like, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. Calm down. And he was like, no. But he was like, I'm telling you, babe. He's like, if we do this, he's like, we could be out of debt in no time. He's like, then we can have nicer things. We can do the things that we want to do. He's like, but it's going to take some sacrifice. And in the past, when Danny said it's going to take sacrifice, it's big stuff. Like usually like, you know,
Vacations.
Yeah, like we're not going anywhere. And I'm like,
Concert.
wait. I was like, I already don't like this guy. I don't know why you're getting brainwashed and manipulated. And he's like, no, listen to me. And he actually, you know, brought up Roots, and we looked at it online, and we were looking at people's testimonies and stuff. And he was like, babe, he's like, we're investing in our future and Cameron's future specifically, you know, to leave him in the best position possible. Because, you know, life isn't promised. Unfortunately, you've, you know, experienced that firsthand, as have we.
For sure.
You know, tomorrow's not promised. And if you're not ready, you know, the people you leave behind are the ones that suffer.
Right.
And, you know, slowly but surely we looked into the program and, you know, just going through it, of course, doing our due diligence and researching everything. And he was like, babe, he's like, with a small sacrifice, he's like, we could do it. He's like, I really think we could do it. And for me, Danny's always managed our finances. Like he's really good at it. He's really good with numbers. I mean, he has an eye for seeing things and cutting things off that need to be cut off, you know, where we can save here and save there. And yeah, at first it doesn't seem a lot, you know, $15, $20. But at the end of the month, especially when we started doing our food challenge, our lunch money challenge, which was a funny thing to do to encourage and motivate each other. But man, we built up in a couple months times, over $400.
Yeah.
I want
to talk on that because you guys, that's one of the things I want to talk about with you too. Cause I think, you know, I mean, we got a lot of fantastic members inside Roots, but I mean, you guys have been like carrying that flag in the front of the group for quite some time. And you guys have not only just done that, but you also have motivated people with a lot of these kind of cool little things that you guys just started to do on your own. It's not even something that we have in the program. You guys just kind of put it together. So I do want to get back to that. But before we do, so obviously a little reluctancy as you guys joined. So you guys decided to join and jump in. And can you talk about like when you got started, like what things did you start trying? Because again, we got a lot of new people listening to this show. We got people who are right where you guys were. They're stressed. They're frustrated. You know, can you share? Because, you know, people want to start doing some of this stuff. So specifically, like what were some things that you felt really made a big difference for you, especially maybe in those first like 3 or 4 months?
All gas, no brakes. I mean,
I'll say for me, the biggest eye opener right out the gate when we started this program was when Danny was like, of course the program encourages you to track your spending.
Yeah.
See what you spent and see where it makes sense to cut back and put that frivolous spending into paying off debt. You know, we didn't have any concept of spending $1,500 a month eating out, but we were like, shit, you know, that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy crap, man. Like, you don't realize the frivolous stopping at the gas station and getting something, you know, on the way or this way, the excessive food that you buy and you waste in the refrigerator because nobody eats it. Like, just those things, I think, for me personally, were like off the chart ridiculousness. We would never have even given that a second thought because we'd lived our lives that way for so long.
Right.
And then we're moaning like we don't have any money left over. Well, yeah, it's because we're spending 3/4 of our income eating out.
Right.
Or going places and doing things that, yes, we want to do, but we were not financially in a position to do it at that moment. So for me personally, when he started tracking our numbers, and I mean, he gets on the laptop every night religiously and we'll put our receipts in under, you know, miscellaneous,
groceries,
whatever it is.
Whatever.
And we keep a running tally and we challenge ourselves every month. All right, we're going to dial this down a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to do this. So we set a plan for a vacation, and that means cutting on some of these expenses, this, you know, little stuff to put towards that vacation and not rely on credit cards and not rely on loans or that ever again.
Right.
And thus far it has worked tremendously for us. But for me personally, seeing the actual factual numbers, and the numbers don't lie, was scary. It was scary, and it was all the motivation I feel like we needed to jump in.
It was the behavior change for me. It was having the foresight, like she said, once we went through the tracking, that right there, that was the spreadsheet. That was the day. That was the game changer moment for us. to see how frivolous we were with money. And then from that point, it was like, take action. Let's get after it. Let's go through the house. I was like, I had a 4-wheeler I haven't ridden in like 4 months. That was $10,000. That was easy money.
Yeah.
I mean, we just sold and got rid of things that we didn't need. I mean, even
still got the kid though. No takers on that.
Yeah, we couldn't sell the kid. So.
I'm trying to sell mine too. Nobody takes them.
He's gently used, but But yeah, getting rid of a lot of clutter.
Yeah.
Still got a lot more that we're going to be going through. Definitely, it was just, but it lit a fire in us, as it scared us, but it motivated us to develop these little challenges and these little things to stay encouraged, because it's hard when you really want something and you can't get it. It's easy to just say, well, I've got $600 saved, I'm going to go buy whatever, versus saying, well, can we turn that 6 into 1,000 by the end of the month? Right. I dare you.
Yeah.
That's where those kind of little challenges developed and came into it to make it fun, but to show us that we're capable. We can do this if we try.
Yeah. We could settle up right now, because today's settle up time, So.
Right. Well, I love what you said, Danny, about, all gas, no brakes. And I think, and we talk about this in Roots all the time. You guys hear me say it all the time. It's like, the more action you take, the more results you're going to get. You just have to put all of yourself into it. And it's not forever. Like, you guys have now done this in 19 months. And I want you guys to share your numbers here in just a second, but you guys have done this in 19 months. And not to say that you have to stop, but the majority of the hard work is past you now. And now you get to enjoy being debt-free. I mean, it's that's what I want people to understand when they're listening to this. It's like, look, we're not asking people just to, do this forever and for the rest of your life. Like, you work hard for your money. You should enjoy your money. Go out, do fun things, live the life that you want to live. But man, leave the financial stress behind. And you guys have done that. And I think you guys are just a perfect example of what it looks like to take massive action and how quickly things can start to turn in your favor. So cool. So anyways, I want you guys to share real quick. What in total have you guys been able to save and pay off? And again, this is over a 19, but there's like 1 year, 7 months. So about 19 months.
Well,
what have you guys been?
7 months.
Yeah.
1 year, 7 months. Total was 134, 718, 32.
$134,718.32.
Which $109,127.95 was debt.
Whew.
Of that number. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Can't even imagine.
That just has to feel like, one, it has to feel like just so relieving. But number two, you got to be like, wow.
It's staggering. Staggering to think that we accrued that much debt.
Yeah.
We are in a position now, Brad, that we are, like I said, I took every advantage of my opportunity where I was. We were short-staffed. We had someone out on workers' comp. I was working 150 hours every 2 weeks. I was working 12 days and 2 days off, 12 days and 2 days off. It came at a huge sacrifice, but it was worth it. All the extra money that we were making at that time was going directly towards our debt, you know, so I know that not everybody has that opportunity, and it's unfortunate that people don't. But, even still, I think that even if I didn't have that opportunity, we still would have been door dashing, doing whatever we had to do to somehow, some way to find some kind of side hustle, I would have started building Christmas ornaments and things like that, just to, just to make something happen for us to keep the steam going, because it was that important to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, you're right. And we talk about that a lot, around here. It's like, it's easy to sit back and look at someone like you guys and say, well, I could never do something like that. And people will just use that as a roadblock not to start. And it's like, okay, you need to change your mindset. You need to change your perspective. And you need to look at it and say, okay, I can't say do that from my workplace, but what are the things that I can do? What are the things that I'm willing to do? Right. And focus on just that stuff. Because
sometimes it's as much as ask.
Yeah.
There's sometimes it's just a matter of asking, hey, can I get some overtime? You know, and you might open up a door you don't reckon that you could have opened. It's there.
Right.
You got to take advantage.
So looking back when you guys started, would you have ever imagined being able to do something like this in a
But
little over a year
I
and a half?
imagine. I keep punching the numbers thinking that they're not real. I mean, to be honest with you,
It's ridiculous.
from last month to this month, I mean, it's $138,388.53 total. But now the number's going up in the bank account now, and that was the main thing is, like we had to learn to save. That's all it is.
Sacrifice and save. I mean, like we just filled up our propane tank for the winter because our gas fireplace is more economical than running the central air, heating and air. And that was $200 and something that we didn't even flinch at because we have it.
Right.
And we actually overpaid it on credit. So we'll be getting about a third of that back because it didn't even come out to that. But things like that, Danny's been paying our water bill. We've got like $123 credit on the water bill. So we can, pull back on that if we had to. But it's just waking up and being at peace with going to work, even when you don't want to go to work because you're like, oh, that's house money. We're paying a payment and a half a month extra on the house.
Man.
So, I mean, it's really come full circle. And for us, we would have never imagined it would have happened this quickly.
Yeah.
And it didn't hurt. That's the thing. It didn't hurt. And it didn't feel like we really sacrificed
and the crazy
as
thing,
much as we did. It didn't feel that way.
The most amazing thing and crazy thing to me is all the information's out there. It's not like you put together the program the way that it needs to be done.
But it's in layman's terms.
And
it's relatable.
It really is relatable and easy to follow. And that's what so many people miss. And that's what all the information was out there. I could see that, I don't know how many things tell you to have an emergency fund. My bank would tell me to have an emergency fund. But the thing is, having a program is what really makes it. And I'll tell you what, the group is, man, I tell you what,
it's a great community of people.
Is a great community of people.
With similar experiences. I think that's what makes it real.
Yeah, it's relative. Very relative.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm glad you brought up the group because I want to talk about Patrice, right? And Patrice Johnson's been on our show, and she's also another one. She was on she reached Debt Freedom last year, end of 2022. And I believe she had started around the same time, right before you guys, right? It was like a few months, I believe.
A few months, a couple months.
Look up to her.
Yeah,
she was the gas on our fire.
Right.
I was like, man, look at her. Like every week, and Lori's like, oh, I don't want to hear about Patrice no more. I was like,
Patrice.
I was like, nope, that's my girl right there. I'm going with Miss Patrice. We're on her coattails right now.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, I mean, I love, and you guys aren't the only ones. I mean, we find people that become friends, they become accountability partners. There's just value in that community. And I tell people all this all the time. It's like, I would love to say it was just me that motivates everybody, but it's not. It is the community in that group that really is the driving factor.
You founded though, Brad. You brought this particular group of people together. So give yourself the credit for that too.
We'll take a little bit of the credit, but honestly, it's because of great members like you guys who come in, and now you guys are motivating other people. And it's just, it's incredible to see that. And I think and why I wanted to bring that up is just, if you're listening to this, man, accountability is just such an important part of this. And to see, Daniel and Lori constantly showing up to our live meetups every single week, and Patrice also being there, and the two of you guys, going back and forth and supporting each other, that's where the magic is. And we always say there's no real magic to getting out of debt, but there is kind of when you can really harness the accountability side. And I loved seeing that between you guys, and you guys would talk all the time. It's just so cool.
It's you gotta, there's somebody that you can look up to, and then there's other people that can look up to you. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is it kind of goes both ways, and being part of the group, I feel like it's a real good part of paying it back. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because we are thankful. We are blessed to be in a position to be debt free at this point. And the thing is, and it was due to the program. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you created it, but to encourage others whenever they're We were there a couple
Struggling.
times.
Oh, no.
There's some months it's just boring. You're like, okay, I didn't really do much different this month, and
Right.
it just don't feel like no traction, no real big movement this month. But
Well, and it's kind of funny too, because things that we wanted to do before that we were like, man, we don't have the money. Now we have the money. Like I've been wanting to go to the state fair in NC for years now. We were like, okay, we're going to go this year. Then all of a sudden it's like, Denny's like, you want to go? And I was like, no, it's too expensive. So now it's like, now it's kind of flipped on us, but in a good way. Even still, you know what I mean? We'll go out for sure. But he's like, well, you want to go to state fair? We can go today. And I'm like, oh, no, those, it's like $20 in. It's like $10 for 4 tickets. I'm like, oh, it just doesn't make sense. It's too expensive. And it's so funny because I'm like, dang, a year ago I would have been like, heck yeah, let's go, and spend $200-$300 and have nothing but a stomach ache to show for it,
Yeah.
So it really is kind of funny because it's a mindset, and it's just like you learn poor spending habits, you can learn saving habits.
Right.
You can learn to be content with little as opposed to a lot, or quality versus quantity kind of thing,
Right.
It's things like that. It's, we're big gun enthusiasts, nice to go out shooting, nice to be able to buy another, add to the collection, which is more practical than just, going to the fair.
Right.
I mean, it's fun, it's nice, but things like that, we can put that money towards more practical use, towards something, more memorable. And you just shift your thinking. It's just shifting your way of thinking, and honest and truly, if you just give it a try and just put in a little bit of effort, and you see it take off, it's all the encouragement you need to keep going.
Yeah, 90 days where you're at. That is everything.
Yeah. When we have you track, we're every 3 months where you're at.
Yes.
Makes a huge difference. But Lori, I'm glad you brought up the mindset thing, because I think that is something that all of our members kind of go through, especially if they're here and they're really on the journey. Is I think along that journey, your whole entire financial mindset changes, and you really begin to figure out. And there's not like one thing. It's just like the journey in its entirety. You begin to figure out like what's truly important to you. And it becomes, at least for me, and it's taken a while to get there, but it becomes so easy to just say no to a bunch of nonsense stuff that just really costs a bunch of money. Like you were saying about the state fair. And for some other people, the state fair could be an amazing thing for them, but for others it's not. And it's like, but when you're broke, it just seems like you're just spending money just to kind of temporarily make yourself feel better, or just to kind of mask the real problem sometimes. And it's like when you finally get out of debt and you actually see like, this money represents all the hard work we put in our jobs and the time that we spend there. And, it's like you just value it way more, not necessarily the money, but just what that money can provide to you based on the life that you want to live.
Right.
And that's exactly it, Brad. We're at a point
peace
now.
Of mind.
We're at a point now. We just want to become our own bank. We just said, you know what, we can save and keep saving, and everything that we were spending in debt, I was like putting that in the bank, and then if we buy a car or do this or do that, we take it from the bank. We're going to pay ourselves back the interest that we would have accrued, for taking the loan from our own self. It's just small little challenges that we make within ourselves. Instead of paying somebody else and giving a piece of our wealth away, we're going to start paying ourselves rather than paying, and paying towards our retirement and things like that. Yeah. So, that's where we're at now. And in the grand scheme of things is we're geared to probably downsize in the next year. We got a lot more house than what we need. Sure. For the two of us, we like to get us a little piece of property, a little wooded piece of property, and maybe do a little barn dominium on it, and and pretty much pay cash for it all the way through. So I mean, love it. Have great equity in our house. We're like I said,
desirable school district neighborhoods. I mean, we really got a lot of advantages being where we're at, but just getting the house primed, ready, painted, new flooring. We've already got the flooring that's been bought and paid for already, just sitting waiting to be put in. I mean, it's just things like that. We couldn't have imagined being in that position 3, 4, 5 years ago. It just wouldn't have been a reality. We would have been trying to find ways to buy it on credit and not having to now. And it's sitting there and it's ours. We don't owe anybody anything for it. Yeah. And in particular for couples, I think encouraging each other. It's hard to have one in and one out. And I think for me, I've always trusted Danny. I mean, you know, you're going to have trust in a marriage first and foremost. And I think just the way he spoke of the program and of the podcast when you heard it initially made me excited. I mean, initially there's hesitancy. There's like, oh yeah, we're going to be eating, you know, turkey sandwiches or bologna sandwiches forever. And we just found ways, and really it opened up other things to us that we wouldn't have considered. And it's been easy in the sense of we don't miss it because we're not seeing it. We're not spending it, so we don't miss it. It's going in the bank.
Yeah.
But encouraging each other, even when we don't want to. You know, it's easy for one of us to be like, I don't want to cook tonight.
Yeah.
And, you know, well, like the other night, where do we go? No, don't do it. We went to go vote. I already had meat thought out. I was going to cook. And he's like, we're going to go vote. Turns out we couldn't vote. We were not in that municipality. He's like, well, let's just go get something to eat. And I was like,
I'll own that one.
He's like, you can make that tomorrow. And I did. I made it the very next day. But it's things like that, you know, okay, well, we'll go eat on a Tuesday night. But Wednesday, Thursday, we had dinner aid.
Right.
You know, so it's things like that. And I've been cooking a lot more than I like to here lately. But it has made the difference. It really has. And we eat breakfast together in the morning, which is really nice because now that he's at his new job, I actually get to see him and spend time with him. So that's time for us in the morning, having breakfast, gearing ourselves up for work. Sometimes we meet for lunch at the house. You know, we'll come home for lunch. We're both less than 8 minutes away from the house.
Right. Love that.
We'll come home for lunch, have lunch home, go back to work, and then dinner at home. So I don't know. It's not been as hard as one would think.
Yeah. It's a matter of priorities. You know, you have to prioritize what's important to you. And I think there's an old saying, you spend time with what you love.
Right.
If you love money, then you need to spend time with it. You know, if you want to have it multiply, you're going to have to spend time with it. Your finances. I mean, it isn't always fun. It really, especially whenever you first start this program and everything's tight and you're like, where am I going to pull from here to there? And, you know, and if you're fixed that way, yes, you are going to have to sacrifice. There's going to be some beanie weenies and things like that.
Sandwiches in your
but you know, you'd be surprised how many meals are in your house if you just look for them.
Right.
You know,
get
a little bit creative and just give it a shot. You know, I don't know how many times where we were just on no spend challenges.
We've had breakfast for dinner how many times?
Yeah, because it's there.
Right.
You know, so you gotta use what's in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, and the program brings it all to you. And if you have a question, the group is there for you for the support. And I've never seen anybody ask for a question that didn't get a bunch of different replies. So.
Yep.
Yeah, which is really cool. Now, you had brought up, Lori, your guys' little challenges that you guys would do. So can you guys share with the listeners like what you guys did? And I thought it was so cool. But what did you guys start doing?
I'll give Danny all the credit for that one because he was like, okay, Lori, he's like, no more Bojangles at McDonald's. Like it was only me, mind you. And he was like, because we're just wasting money on $10 breakfasts and $10 lunches. He's like, so this is what's going to happen. He's like, give me your card and I'm going to give you $50 for the week. And I said, okay. And you? He's like, I'm going to give myself $50 for the week as well. I said, okay. He's like, that's if you want breakfast, it comes out of that. If you want lunch out, it comes out of that. He's like, whatever's left at the end of the week, we'll settle up. He was like, and that goes to savings.
Well, unexpected emergency fund or sinking fund is what I've always thought.
I'm thinking now there was never really a reward for giving him my leftover money at the end of the week. Now that I think about it, there was no real reward. If he won or I won, it was just bragging rights.
Are you not debt-free, woman?
Are we not debt-free? But it was bragging rights. But it actually was a really fun competition because I was like, if I starve myself, I am not spending this money. I have to beat this man. And there were weeks where I was just kicking his tail. And then there were other weeks where I was like, I really wanted that. And he was like, well,
co-workers,
like, you spent it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, my co-workers are the worst. But, we got into it, and it was just so much fun. Even our kid was like, well, settle up. Who won this week, Dad? Yeah. And he'd be like, Mom kicked my butter. He's like, I smote your mom. But in the interest of, and we're very competitive in this family. We're very competitive. It ended up being a really fun thing that we started doing, and we've done it every week for how long now?
Since we pretty much started.
Yeah,
I mean,
you guys been going.
Well, yeah. we are not ashamed to say that when we're walking in the parking lot, we're looking for pennies, nickels, quarters, dimes that may be on the ground, and we will scoop them up like vultures. I mean, we have we not?
Because
under our car mats everywhere. We're like, ooh.
The funny thing is like she'll turn around and sometimes you'll beat me by 25 cents or something, or I'll beat her by 50%, 50 cents. And I was like, ooh, that was my parking lot change this week,
Oh my gosh, we're the worst.
I got that quarter from Aldi's.
We are
from the cart.
Doing that.
Yeah.
But it's just turned into a competition, and it's so fun and it's so funny. We're walking holding hands and we're looking. He's one way and I'm the other, and we'll walk into a pole or something because we're just like, and I'll pick up a quarter. He's like, ooh, that's mine. And I'm like, I found it. And he'll snatch it from me. But it's so funny to see him at the end of the week. He'll get out. We've got a big old, like, it used to be a whiskey jar or something.
Molasses jar or something.
But we put all our change in there, all our spare change. He can sit down. He's like, 4 more quarters and I can roll it. So he's rolling our change, and we are like $10 a quarter. He gets so excited. He's like, oh, I need 3 more cents for pennies to be able to roll these pennies. And, somebody would be like, seriously, rolling change?
Yeah, stupid.
It is so exhilarating and so fun to do, because you see that dollar turn into 20, turn into 40, turn into 100, turn into what we got, like $300 or $400 more than that.
Got over $500 and some in change just in a year. You know? Like, we don't spend it. I'm like, well, you know what? There's a coin shortage. I was like, that is the best kept secret. I think that anybody, when it comes to saving, because like I said, you just don't think of the value of change, having value.
Right.
So, every time we would spend during the week, that change just goes into the jar. And then all of a sudden it turns into $20, $30, $50, $100, and, is it going to pay off your debt? No, probably not. But you know what? If a big emergency comes up, something comes up, down the road that needs money, and I'm like, hey, this is just something I don't really keep up with,
Right.
Every once in a while I go in there and count it, so.
But you see it add up, and it's so exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is exciting thing. Like you said, you throw your pocket change in your cup holder of your car, you throw it on the counter. Our kid is the worst for leaving it on the bathroom sink, and I will take it every freaking time. Because I'm like, you still live in my house. You don't pay for anything. So I'm going to consider this cleaning fees. And he's like, I had like $1.12 on the counter. I was like, you did. You don't now. But it's just, it's almost like you get a high off the savings, where you would be so fearful before and so stressed out and so mad about sacrificing a meal or sacrificing a pair of shoes. Or we went to Smithfield, which is where like an outlet mall is, and we walked into every handbag store, and he even offered, he's like, it's time for you to get a new bag. You want to upgrade your bag? And I said, no, I don't need anything. Normally I would have probably picked a bag in every store and walked out with it because I'm spoiled. We all are. But I was like, I don't need it. I have plenty of them at the house. So, but just being able to say no and be fine with saying no would not have been me 19 months ago.
Right.
I would have been like, yeah, I want it. Let's get it. And not even thought about how we're going to pay for it,
Right.
But it's like, fast forward, and it's like, I don't really need it. I'll buy a $20 bag over a $200 bag if I really want one. It's just those things that I would not have been happy doing then that I have no qualms with doing now. Because in the long run, it's going to benefit us. It's going to benefit our kid. And if I want that bag today, I can go buy it. And not have the fear, the encumbrance of, well, what about the utility or what about this?
Right.
And even doing things at the house, cutting to our streaming services. Danny keeps the thermostat on hot all the freaking time. So it's always hot in this house. But I run the fan and stuff, and it's still cheaper on utilities, or we open the windows, or, there's just so many alternative things you can find and do to cut costs and to save money that aren't out of your way that aren't going to put you out.
Yeah.
And it's just so much easier if you just look for those things, those, money saving opportunities. There's plenty there.
Yeah.
There's plenty there.
Well, I think why you guys have found why that's worked so well, especially like the change and like the little savings challenge, because you guys gamified it. You made it fun, and I think there's a lot of ways that you can do that. Like Chris on our podcast, who's a co-host on our podcast, and he talks about that a lot. Like he gamified his, way to get out of debt. Like, he's like, how can I want to pay off a little bit more debt. How can I come up with an extra $200 this month? What are some things that I can do?
Right.
Like, and he almost gamified that, which helped him take action, which action creates those results. So I think, you guys sharing that, I think for you guys listening to this, I mean, I think those are some great ways to motivate you and make it a little bit more fun, make it a challenge.
Well, it's accountability too, right? I mean, it really goes into the accountability thing. It's like us holding each other accountable to that. Hey, I'm not going to try to overspend this week. You shouldn't try to overspend this week. But it wasn't that we were actually, like I said, that money was budgeted for. So it was there. We could waste it on it, or we could pack a lunch, that
just made
and then
sense.
we could bring that $50 home. There was so many times. I think there was one week I found $60 on the ground, just laying on the ground. I was like, I stayed there for, I don't know, probably 15, 20 minutes. I was like, someone's coming back.
Make sure someone come back for that.
And, I sat there and I waited and I didn't see anybody. I mean, it's out in the parking lot. I was like, and I was like, they're not coming back for it.
Thank
so
you, Lord.
I think, it was a blessing, but again, I came home. I was like, I'm beating you this week, woman.
Although that doesn't count.
It does. It's in the totals.
But, and for couples, support.
Yeah.
You have to support each other, have each other's back, and stay encouraged. When you have one in and one out, it's hard for that one person to shoulder all that responsibility while the other person's still doing the spending or doing,
Yep.
And for couples, and I hate it for you, I know it's hard, but man, that relationship and that foundation of trust is a big one.
I think one of the biggest accomplishments in our finances are the fact that I have an account, Lori has an account, and then we have a bill account. There's so many times where I try to put this out there in the group.
You have
that. But we're on all of the accounts, but
right.
Nevertheless, she has a spending account. I have a spending account, and then we have our bill account. So basically, with that, we totaled up all our debt. We put the base, maybe a little bit more than what the base was, $5. So if it was $60, we put $65 in there for like electric, because electric bills are going to fluctuate this way, that way. So the months that are cheaper than the other, it would kind of offset. And then same thing with cable, same thing with water, same thing with electricity. We would try to say, okay, well, this is about what it is every month, so we just jump it up maybe $5-10.
Right.
And then we knew all our bills would be paid. We get paid bi-weekly, but separate weeks. But
which is actually nice.
We just started drafting, our bills money, like, we divided by 4 and said, okay, this is what's got to come out every week. And then this is what we'll do is divide the rest into these 2 other accounts, and we're saving this amount. And that's how we did. And a lot of the debt that we paid off was we saved it first. And then where I could have probably sent it, a bigger payment or paid off something here or there, but 0 interest. I liked actually seeing the growth of the savings for myself, to see that I was going forward. I was moving forward fast. If we can save this now while we're in debt, how much easier is going to be to save when we're out of debt.
Right.
So now, we're saving $350, $400 a week right now, Brad.
Yeah,
and I know that's not everybody's income. But the thing is, and we're looking to do more, and that isn't including our pocket money stuff, So.
Right. But you just mentioned those numbers. And so if you listen to that, you're like, there's no way I'd be able to save $300 or $400. If you're listening to this right now, go home, total up how much debt payments you got going out every month. And then just imagine those don't exist anymore. Don't include your mortgage or your rent. Keep that, because most people are going to need that. Right. But get rid of everything else and just total up what that is for the month, and just say, what else could I do with that money to build the life that I want? And that's where that money comes from. Man. So that is so incredible. So you guys, we have just like a minute or 2 left. if you had to share or give some sort of piece of advice to the, Danny and Lori before you started all this, or someone who was feeling very similar to how you're feeling, and now you guys are debt free after 19 months, like what type of advice or suggestions would you give to them to get them going?
Let's go. Let's get it done. That's it. That's it. That's what I put on all my posts. Let's go.
Let's go. You're right.
Yeah.
I definitely think, put yourself in a position where you put yourself first. Put your financial freedom first. Give yourself that peace of mind, that comfort in knowing that if something happened today, you've got it covered. That you don't have to rely on anybody or anyone, any financial institution, anybody else but yourself for it. You'll appreciate yourself so much more for it. You'll appreciate the value of $1 way more for it. And it's just getting started. Start and don't stop. Even when you trip and fall, get back up and keep going. Ask somebody for help. Ask somebody for guidance. Ask somebody for encouragement.
Accountability.
Just don't stop. Don't stop. Don't look back.
Find your Patrice. Patrice was ours, so find somebody that you want to latch onto and watch what they're doing and don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, if we could ever be a help to anybody, we're here. All you got to do is send us a text, a messenger, whatever, and we'll be glad to share. We're open books. We don't, we got here because of the program. That's
absolutely
plain and simple.
Yeah.
And our desire to be debt free. And what that looked like for other people, we wanted that. It was the ability to just take a breath and not have to wonder how you're going to feed your family, how you're going to clothe your family, pay a bill, keep the lights on. There's so much peace in knowing that things are taken care of and that you're okay. You can sit back and watch TV and not have a care in the world because everything's taken care of. It is worth doing 1,000 times over. Do not quit. Because once you start to gain that momentum and you see it really multiplying and starting to add up, it is the best feeling of the world. That is all the encouragement you need to keep going.
Well, it's just that one thing. Once you see that one debt got paid off, now put what you have there towards the next and watch
Keep
it
going.
and watch it just keep going right up the mountain. You're going to be at the peak of that mountain so quick that you'll be looking back like we did and running your numbers and be like, how in the world did I get
every night?
I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, if we stayed with the same head of steam that we have, our house would be paid off in a year or two, so I'm like,
heck yeah.
It's wild to think, that we live our lives strapped and a slave to debt, that we're helping everybody else obtain their wealth while giving them a piece of ours.
Right.
So,
well, Danny and Lori, just a huge congratulations to you guys. Seriously, for me, over the last 19 months, it has been so much fun to watch you guys and just be a part of your journey and just to see what you guys have done. And not only that, but just how many people you've motivated inside Roots and people you've cheered on. And you guys talk about that community, but you guys have been a big part of that and building that environment of support. And I really can't say it enough. Like, I have appreciated you guys being in that group so much. So I hope you guys continue to stick around in there and still continue to update us on what's going on.
Absolutely.
But I love you guys.
We've been quiet because we're debt free. I didn't want to I don't want to slip up and
I
do
know.
anything.
I know.
We've been a little bit, been hiding a little bit
We've
right
been
now.
in shock.
Right.
We've been in shock. I mean, really, we were debt free, honestly, before October.
Right.
But it just did not make sense. That's why he was like, no, these numbers. Literally, we've been debt free since August, probably July, August. But he's like, there's no way. And I'm like, well, if you take the 4, you subtract, carry the 1, do this. I'm like, it really is. I mean, it's shell shock.
Yeah.
To see such a staggering number. That's one person's income.
Yep.
Or, 2 family. It just made no sense.
Yeah.
So hopefully that number is going to turn into a positive in the same direction for us moving forward. That's our goal.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, guys. And as we are recording this also on Veterans Day, Lori, happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. And for you listeners out there, I hope you have gotten a lot out of this and use this as motivation to get started because Daniel and Lori are normal, everyday people, just willing to do some things different, take some massive action like we talk about a lot on this podcast. And really, the only question is, why not you? There's really nothing stopping you. You just got to get started.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Let's get it.
So the Totally Awesome Debt Freedom Planner is helping so many people make consistent progress with their finances. Whether that be building emergency funds, paying down bills, budgeting, tracking paydays, saving up for larger purchases, goal planning, and planning for those irregular yearly expenses that always seem to catch you by surprise. Now, the Debt Freedom Planner will help you take the stress out of managing your money. And if the thought is running through your mind, hey, I just need to have a simple tool to get my finances together, this planner is perfect for you. Head over to therealdebtfreedad.com, click on the Debt Freedom Planner in the menu at the top of the page, and order your Debt Freedom Planner today.
Let's talk about debt, baby. Let's talk about your money. Let's talk about all the good things, all the bad things that may be. Let's talk about debt.
All right, as you guys know, that sound is the time for the celebrations of the show. And of course, again, just a huge shout out to Daniel and Lori for joining us. And just, man, what an amazing story. It's been honestly just an honor of mine just to be a part of that and just to watch it over these last 19 months or so. Man, these guys, it's just proof that you can make some amazing changes if you're willing to take some massive action. And that's exactly what they've done. So just huge congratulations to those guys. So we're going to kick it off here with Tara Mean, another huge accomplishment over the last 90 days or so. She says, the new challenge asks, where are you at? So we have paid off $10,777 since starting Roots in July. And at the time of this recording, that's about 90 days since she started Roots. Over 10 grand paid off. That's not counting my other credit cards that I had because I never put it on my page. This is amazing to see it on paper just like this. And Tara, man, it is amazing. You guys have been just doing so awesome. Just so proud of you guys. And I know what a great feeling that's got to be. So congratulations. Claudia and Kelsey, we stayed within my grocery money this week and we paid all cash. Claudia, that's a fantastic win. Congratulations. Jennifer Spray says, I started Roots, which is awesome. Glad you're a part of our community. Committed to 30 minutes of finance podcasts and listing 2 things a day on Marketplace. Love those action items, Jennifer. Congratulations. Keep up the great work. Kim Schmidt, keeping on the course. Kim recently also became debt-free. She said she's decreased board shopping and was able to put $180 into her savings this past week. Kim, congratulations to you. Great job. And to wrap up celebrations for this episode, Tawana Mack. I love Tawana, man. She found us on TikTok, and within a few months, man, she's just making some great progress. Check this out. I put an extra $200 towards another debt this past week. I have an extra $100 cushion in my account as well, just in case. Also, her biggest win is that she's had no overdraft fees. Because, baby, she says, they had me in a chokehold. And yes, kicking overdraft fees, getting yourself organized, getting yourself on that budget, getting yourself on that plan. Man, does it save you a lot of money, saves you a lot of stress. So, Tawana, really proud of you. You're really, really working it. So, great job. Keep up the great work. And, hey, to all you listeners out there who are, thinking different, you're willing to take some chances, willing to try some new things, and maybe you're listening to this podcast and that's encouraging you. Hey, we're proud of you guys too, because going against that herd mentality of paycheck to paycheck living, which so many people live in this country, it's just no way to live. So it's awesome that you guys are taking a different approach. Hey, if you're just getting started with our podcast, or maybe you've been listening for some time and you're interested in how you can get started on the road to financial freedom, go visit our website at debtfreedad.com. Sign up for my free Life Without Payments workshop, where I'm actually going to show you the very first steps that have helped tens of thousands of people just like you and I kick financial stress and worry for good. Hey, we will see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast. Connect with us on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Brad Nelson Debt Free Dad. If you found value in today's episode, please leave a rating and review. We so appreciate it. For resources, show notes, and links mentioned in today's show, visit balancedsense.com. That's balancedsense.com. Catch you next week.